guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about the 2015 NBA Draft results and recap. So, it wasn't that big of a surprise with the number one overall pick being Karl Anthony Towns to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Which one thing, though, about Karl Anthony Towns is I feel like that was a smart pick by the Timberwolves. Right now, when they picked him, he is the best player in this draft. I'm not saying he's going to be the best player in this whole draft like ever, but right now he's the best player in this draft, and he was the guy to be drafted number one overall. And number two with the Los Angeles Lakers with D'Angelo Russell, that was some people thought it was probably a little bit of a surprise, but I kind of saw it coming because towards like about a week ago, D'Angelo Russell was starting to get a lot of hype. There's possibilities of him going number one overall actually. And then what really confirmed me knowing that he'll probably go to the Lakers was that yesterday, on the day of the draft, he said, not he said, but um, there was a comment made by the Lakers saying that they felt like he did better in the workouts overall versus Julio Okafor. And honestly, I could see it makes a lot of sense because he's a guard. He could play the one or the two. I mean, he could potentially fill in for Kobe Bryant when Kobe Bryant's career is over, because you would have Jordan Clarkson probably at number one at the point guard, and so I felt it was a very smart pick. I mean, I like him. I think he's going to do really good in the NBA. And so with the third pick overall with the 76ers, they picked Jaleel Okafor, which honestly is not a surprise at all because he was projected to go number two, and they were probably happy to get him. But the only thing is though that there's gonna be a big problem with him and Nerlens Noel and Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid does well uh, in his NBA career, I mean right now it kind of makes a little bit of sense because Joel Embiid got a setback on his foot injury, so it makes sense for them to get a big man just in case, but you never know. He Joel Embiid could be perfectly fine by the beginning of the next season, but and honestly I could either see I either Joel Embiid or Julio Okafor as a trade chip. I feel like they're gonna keep Nerlens Noel because they like how he played his first season. And I really like how he played. He's gonna be a really good player someday. And Julio Okafor, I mean, he just needs to work on his defense mainly. He's a really good offensive player, low post. If he could extend his shot a little bit more and knock down those mid ranges a little bit better, that'd be great. And he's pretty good with blocking, but other than that, really all he has is low post scoring and blocking. And the fourth pick overall was by the New York Knicks, and they drafted Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis, he was projected like pretty much guaranteed, almost sound, from the way everybody made it sound, that he was gonna be a top five pick, and I really honestly believed he was gonna go number two to the Lakers, but that was just me. People are saying that he may not be the best player right now, but he can be the best player in this draft overall someday. And I honestly, if he could get a little bit more meat on his bones, because this guy is 7 foot and he only weighs 220 pounds. I mean, that's really, really, really thin for a 7 footer. And also probably because he's European too, because I feel like Europeans get bad raps. It's like, oh yeah, they're European. I mean, how many Europeans have really done well in the NBA so far? Besides, you mean you could just count on a single hand of how many Europeans there are. And within the fifth pick overall, the Orlando Magic selected Mario Hezonja. Hazonia. I really like that pick because I could actually see him doing something. But I really thought they were gonna pick Justice Winslow. To me, it made more sense. I mean, they definitely would want to get a guy like Justice Winslow who could play defense and could contribute pretty solid on offense. But Mario Hezona is gonna probably be a little bit better of a more versatile player to play the two and the three. And also, so yeah, I could see him being a pretty good player, but I don't know. I probably would have drafted Justice Winslow. That's just me. And the sixth pick overall by the Sacramento Kings, they drafted Willie Cauley-Stein. I like him, Willie Cauley-Stein, because I could see him actually becoming a pretty good offensive threat, and with his defense is just outrageous. Being a 7-footer also really helps too. And but the one thing though I'm a little bit afraid of is the way he acts. I mean, he legally changed his name recently to Will the Trill Cauley-Stein, and I just find that really stupid. What's the point of doing that? And so yeah, but I can see him being a really good player on the court. I'm just a little afraid for him off the court. All right, so seventh pick, they the Denver Nuggets selected Emmanuel Mudiay. With Emmanuel Mudiay, I'm really, honestly a little surprised he dropped down this low. I really like Emmanuel Mudiay. I think he's going to do really well. But also, the Denver Nuggets have Ty Lawson, so that probably just even a bigger hint that they're going to probably be trading away Ty Lawson and make Emmanuel Mudiay their starting point guard. And I feel like that was a pretty smart draft pick. I mean, they pretty much just got the best player off on the board with that pick. I mean, nobody could really argue it, and I like him. I think he's gonna become a pretty good player. And the eighth pick, the Detroit Pistons selected Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson, I really like him. He's very versatile. He's good on the defensive end, and he's really good with dunking. And yeah, I know. I mean, just because you're good at dunking doesn't mean you should be a good NBA player. But honestly, I think the type of player he goes after though would have to be more so of a Caron Butler type. And I could still see him though be doing really well. But yeah, this type of player I'd see him be probably. He's able to score really well too. And with the ninth pick, Frank Kaminsky. I really want Frank Kaminsky to go to the Pacers because the Pacers are my favorite team in the NBA, and so I was really sad to see them get drafted at the ninth pick when the Pacers had the 11th pick. But you move on. All right. So I like Frank Kaminsky. I feel like just because he's a senior, everybody's kind of like writing him off a little bit because I could see him becoming a really good player and an all-star type caliber player, where he's able to take that three. Obviously, he's able to get the low post scoring. People are saying he's kind of weak in low post, but I mean, he has the nickname Frank the Tank Kaminsky. I mean, I'm sorry, but you don't just get that name for being really girly in the paint. I mean, oh, taking jump shots is so. This doesn't make any sense. To be called Frank the Tank, then, and I really like him and I feel like he's going to do really well. He just needs to step up on the defensive end, and I could see him becoming an all-star. And with the 10th pick, the Miami Heat selected Justice Winslow. And I really honestly believe they just drafted the best player on the board, and I have no problem with that pick because I mean they don't really have anybody at the small forward spot besides Luol Deng this past year. But I like Luol Deng, but I mean he's starting to get a little bit older. I mean he still did pretty solid there, but I feel like Justice Winslow is a very smart pick by them. He's a very good defensive player, and he just needs to step up even more on the offensive end. I can see him really doing really well. And I mean he's only freshman, so his potential is unlimited pretty much. All right, so now you got the 11th pick with the Pacers. They selected Miles Turner. First, I wasn't a big fan of it. Then I started to look more into Miles Turner, and I don't know. He seems like he might actually become a pretty good player. But the only thing I'm a little afraid of is seems like he might have to spend at least a year in the D League, um, really before he could really get a chance to try to reach his potential. Would try to make a little smooth transition. Because I mean, I really thought he was only a defensive player, but apparently he could. He's not too shabby offensive game, and so yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited for that pick. I mean, if Frank Kaminsky was still on the board, I wish they drafted him, but I mean he wasn't, so I guess this was their second best pick for the Pacers for what they wanted to draft. Um, And with the 12th pick, the Utah Jazz selected Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles, I mean, you pretty much know what you're getting with him. He's uh he's a pretty good low post player, and on the defensive end, he's not too bad. But I mean, he doesn't really seem like he's gonna be a standout player like ever really in his career, truly. So yeah, I feel like, I mean, I don't know, it's a kind of an underwhelming pick. I mean, I really would have liked to see him spend at least 1 or 2 more years there, in Kentucky, to really like kind of like learn more and maybe see if he could try to be have a higher potential and become a better player overall. And so yeah, it was really like underwhelming pick, like I said, but I mean, you can't always get the star-studded players all the time. With the 13th pick, the Phoenix Suns selected Devin Booker. I'm really excited for that pick because Devin Booker, he's one of the best shooters in this draft. And I mean, nobody could really argue that. I mean, he's a 6'5", 186-pound shooting guard, freshman out of Kentucky. I mean, his potential seems really good. I could see this type of guy in his prime average at least 20 points if he gets those starters minutes. I mean, he's not too bad on the defensive end either, but I mean, he's probably just gonna become more of an offensive-minded player, obviously, like he is already. But I'm excited for that pick. I could see him in his prime getting at least 20 points, like I said. So yeah, I like that pick overall. And so with the last pick in the lottery, the Oklahoma City Thunder selected Cameron Payne. I don't know. For me, it doesn't make too much sense why they drafted Cameron Payne because I mean, they have Russell Westbrook. I mean, I guess it's just in case Russell Westbrook leaves in a couple of years, but I don't know. I wish they drafted Kelly Oubre, who was drafted right after him, right outside the lottery, and I would have preferred Kelly Oubre to be drafted because he has a lot of potential, and he's the type of player that could flourish a lot better if he had better players around him. I mean, he's because Kelly Oubre is right now with Wizards. I mean, he has John Wall, yes, he has Bradley Beal, yes, he has Marcin Gortat, but I mean, he doesn't have a standout player in his position like the Thunder did with Kevin Durant. I mean, Kelly Oubre, he could also play shooting guard too, so it's not like he's only a small forward type player. And I felt like it could have been really helpful for Kelly Oubre and to reach his full complete potential and become a lot more consistent with a guy like Kevin Durant mentoring him. And so yeah, guys, that's my recap for the recapping my thoughts about the lottery picks in the 2015 NBA draft. All right, see you guys. Peace.